ASA committee meeting to order, and as the first item of business, ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Trustee McMahon,
Present.
trustee Riley,
Here.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Martin.
Yes.
Thank you.
And if I could remind participants to please leave their mic muted unless they are speaking, that would be gratefully appreciated. And not on the agenda, but I think we probably ought to welcome Beth Stickler. And Beth, if you can come on screen, if that's possible. We'll see her. Don't see her. Okay, so first item is a student representative discussion, and I believe Aidan is going to take the ball on that. So, Aidan, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, and let's see if I can figure out how to screen share. And okay. So for this presentation, we decided coming out of Christmas, it would be nice to do a lighter, more fun topic that's still informational. So we started comparing notes in much the same way as our last presentation about opportunities to engage in arts and athletics across our campuses. Starting with arts at Farmington. So we have two main stages for theater, and that is a big production normally directed by one of the professors. There is the club, Student Theater, UMF, and we have an improv group called the Lawn Chair Pirates, and they do a show a month. For music, we have student bands. They performed in the Honors House. We have Maid, Lace Puppet, and the Befrestons. I did actually talk to a member and confirm that is how that is pronounced. We do have opportunities for students to display plastic arts, which like painting, sculpture, things of that sort in the Emory Arts Gallery. For film, there's a film club that is out producing films, and Pixel Hunter is a short festival that we've had every year. And poetry, The Landing, brings in a visiting writer who is occasionally a poet and provides an opportunity for students to share that. For athletics, we have varsity, which you hear more about from the horse's mouth, so I'm not going to spend much time there. But for club sports, we have a very active men and women's rugby teams. I believe the women are sending, was it one or two people to All-Stars this year? So they're very good. Lots of people, lots of energy. We have cheer, dance, and ultimate frisbee, who also are big and involved. And if club sports is too much for you, there's also intramurals, which are more, even less formal. They're in the evenings at the FRC, and it's more just playing to play. I've seen indoor soccer, kickball, pickleball, volleyball, and for people like me, there's just the FRC where you can go and work out at all times. And do we have someone from Presque Isle here?
Yes.
Then I'll hand it over to you, Alec.
Okay. So for the UMPI Arts, we have our Govan Family Center, which is where our theater is. We sometimes have, they'll do presentations down there. Occasionally we've held a class in there. Other than that, anytime we get a big group together, we sometimes utilize that space for seating. For music, we have our WUPI 92.1 FM radio station. That is a club on campus with a few students that work on that. The Reed Art Gallery that's located in our Center for Innovative Learning. That is always hosting different art pieces, whether it's from the community or from art majors. And if we could go to the next slide. And then for athletics, the varsity sports that we would offer, our basketball court recently got redone over this past summer. So we have our basketball court. You can see the photo in the top right-hand corner. We also use that for volleyball as well in the fall. And then after volleyball's done, basketball will pick up. Soccer, cross country, track and field, baseball and softball currently utilize field space at the Presque Isle High School or Presque Isle Middle School to get their field time in. And for intramurals, we have that down in Gentile Hall. Gentile Hall is an area that is open to both the community and the students that attend UMPI. And with that, we have a lifting room. They just put in turf, as you can see in the bottom left-hand photo. We just put in turf. Intramurals are offered down there, which are really big in UMPI. But it's nice that they're laid back. And then the bottom right-hand photo is above the basketball court. We have a hitting cage for our baseball and softball team. And that's what I have.
Thank you. USM?
All right, so I would say that USM Arts is one of the most successful degree programs at the University of Southern Maine. Starting off with the art gallery, we host a wide variety of pieces composed by professional artists and students. And the art gallery also frequently works with critically acclaimed artists such as Natasha Mayers, James Luna, and Daniel Minter. We also have a lot of experts on campus as well. We have a very low student to teacher ratio. With many professional artists and art historians coming in to guest lecture as well. In 2024, we have a wide variety of art department exhibitions. One of them is called The Holding Space, which is a student-led exhibition occurring on January 25th. And we also have the annual Bachelor of Fine Arts exhibition showcasing the culminating capstone projects of students occurring in April. We have many studio art and art history programs as well. It's known for its rigorous studio programs and appreciation of art history as well. There's studio concentrations in ceramics, painting and drawing, photography, digital art and design, sculpture, and then of course the major in art history as well. The art program also has a wide variety of internship opportunities as well. The Portland Museum of Art, Space Gallery, Victoria Mansion, Mayo Street Arts, and Portland Pottery offer incredible internships for our students to take advantage of. Many of our students also work in the community as well. Two faculty are collaborating with UMF's Open Art exhibition too. And professors in art and social work are collaborating on the Maine Greenland project. And the art history students are also publishing work for the Ogunquit Museum of American Arts. And I would say one honorable mention is the WMPG radio station, 90.9 FM. It was initially founded as a student radio station 50 years ago, and it hosts a wide variety of faculty and student-led podcasts and also provides internship opportunities. Transitioning into athletics. We have many successful Husky athletes at the University of Southern Maine, and I've had the luck to actually participate with a lot of them too. So the women's soccer team defeated the 11th nationally ranked D3 team, Rowan, at the tournament at MIT this past fall. And we're also celebrating the 100th anniversary of Husky athletics as well. And a good colleague of mine, Benjamin Drummy, a pole vaulter on the men's track and field team, won his second Division III national championship as well. Huskies going pro. We recently had a top 9 candidate for the NCAA Woman of the Year in Sophia Slavinsky. She is an All-American and has all academic American honors and will be receiving the Division III Commissioners Association Award at the NCAA Division III National Student Athlete of the Year. And she's currently coaching at Bates College. We also had 64 student athletes named to the LEC All Academic Team. 19 of our 22 teams had a GPA over 3.0, and all athletes had a GPA averaging 3.23. And 254 or 63% of our athletes are considered scholar athlete status. We also have the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, also the SAAC. It's representative of all 22 teams at our university, and they have 3 primary goals: citizenship, community, education, and student athlete wellness. They meet twice a month, and they discuss a wide variety of topics, including how to nurture future growth for the program and improving the quality of the current athletic experience. We also have the Club Sport Council, which I have the privilege to be the treasurer of as well. And that hosts 7 club teams, including the largest esports program in the state of Maine with over 80 active participants. And we're also constructing the largest esports arena in the state. And I'll hand it off to whoever's next.
Thank you. This is the ASM graduate portion. Don't believe she is here today, so I'll pitch in. I think looking over before, I think we're running pretty low on the ground with our graduate reps today. So graduate clubs at USM are less common than in the undergrad, which makes sense. And the funding is mostly for professional development activities, is the long and short of that. Is Lisa here? Yes. Going once, going twice. Okay. Again, with a graduate program, it's going to be less formal. As there's not as many people with the amount of time. So there are some club sports, a club singing group, and knitting, fireside crafting puzzles. Machias? Yes. Okay, that's a no. So they have intramurals, and that is the extent of their exposure to athletics in Machias. For arts, they also have a radio station. They have a paper-making class. That does sound neat. An art gallery, performing arts center with music classes, and available for student activities. Ben, I'll hand this to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So for art programs and arts in general at UMaine, we have mainly the Collins Center for the Arts. It's a large theater space that also houses the Hudson Museum. We've hosted some notable events in past years. Bob Marley came and did a comedy show there. We had something called One Night of Queen with Gary Mullen, where they did Queen covers that evening. The undergrad students also host the drag show in the spring every year. Typically bring in 300 to 400 kids there. This semester, UMaine's undergrad student government is doing a comedy and concert series as opposed to our one big concert at the end of the year. So we'll be hosting 4 local indie Maine bands throughout the semester, as well as 2 to 3 comedy acts. Look for those when they're coming, because tickets are available to the public for those. We also have a number of student-led arts clubs, a huge plethora of dance clubs, hip hop, Celtic, tap, ballroom, tango, and ballet. And notably right now over break, we have 2 clubs, the UMaine Renaissance and the Maine Steiners, 2 a cappella groups traveling in New England to tournaments to sing and present themselves. And on their return trip are reaching out to local high schools to show what they do and get kids interested in coming to UMaine and learning about a cappella. Our largest group of arts is our hip hop club. It averages about 80 members. This semester, I believe we have 82. And so they'll do a showcase dance feature with, I believe, almost all of the members at the end of the semester. And in the past, it's been pretty impressive. I saw last year's. Eden, if you could go to the next one. For undergrad athletics, we have 17 varsity sports and 29 club sports. Those club sports operate on a tier system that athletics handles. So they come to UMaine Student Gov for some of their funding, and then depending on how high up in the tier program they are, they get more funding. The tier system involves hosting service events, doing community service hours, and fundraising to achieve different tier statuses, with tier 1 being the highest. You need at least 350 hours of community service, $2,000 of fundraising, and 3 service events per year. Typically, those tier 1 sports go above and beyond and do far more than that. They have large teams. Men's hockey is a notable tier 1 club sport. Recently, in women's soccer, they won the America East Conference. I know that was a pretty big achievement for our campus. And this semester, UMaine Student Gov brought back the Student Athletic Advisory Committee. Very similar to what Andrew said at USM, they represent a lot of our sports teams. They liaise between us and the sports teams and help us understand what those teams need and what those players need. Mental health has been a big push for SAC this semester as their kind of first goal, improving the mental health of a lot of their players and making sure everyone is doing well and keeping their academics up and, you know, managing their work-life balance a little. And then I will take the UMaine grad as well.
Thank you, Ben.
So the graduate students participate in a lot of the arts programs on campus. They have a number of degree programs in the arts that work either directly with the Collins Center, with various majors, music and dance. And they also work with the museum. Their internship opportunities, their grad student worker opportunities with those. And they are often invited to the undergrad arts programs as well. The comedy and concert series this semester, they're welcome to come to that. If you could hop over to sports for the grad students. So the grad students participate in a lot of the services that the undergrads get. We have access to the rec center on campus. It has an indoor track, it has an indoor pool, it has a sauna, it has gym equipment. Thousands of students visit that every semester. I've gone myself. It's a wonderful service that's included with our tuition. We also get access to the Mainbound Center, which has a climbing wall inside of it, available to students for free during all normal hours, sometimes until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I've climbed pretty late at night before. And they do shoe rentals very cheap. They also do gear rentals. They'll do cross-country skis, downhill skis, canoes, kayaks, a number of outdoor gear rentals at a massively discounted rate for students. Think $10 for the whole day for a kayak. There are also intramural sports that the grad students participate in. I know that there is an indoor hockey league, floor hockey league that they play in. They play volleyball with some of the undergrads. They also have I think there are some members on the golf team this semester, which is newly returned. And then there are also members of some clubs. These are primarily funded by our student government in the undergrad, but the grad students do participate and we encourage them to keep joining us. We love to have people in all the clubs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. And I believe that is everyone. Any questions?
Rich.
you all for that. That was very, very interesting. Do you have a sense, I'm particularly intrigued by the club sports and the intramurals. Where do the club sports play? Intramurals I get. Who do club sports play? It always strikes me that the Division III and the other things have to go all over the countryside. Who do they play?
Yeah, I don't mind taking that. So many of the club sports, what we do is we reach out to like organizations outside of the NCAA, and they have a league that will join, and typically that comes with a fee as well.
Deb?
Thank you.
Thanks for your presentation this morning. I don't think I saw slides from UMFK. Is that correct? I think I watched carefully the presentation and I didn't see anything from UMFK.
That is correct. Talking to UMFK's student rep, they were not able to. It is always hard to work over break, and that's part why we're missing a bunch of people today. And in part, that's why we picked a less strenuous topic, trying to get more people. But that is correct. There was no representation of UMFK.
So maybe in the future, we can figure out a better way to possibly share that information or involve others on our campus so that there's, good representation of all the campuses when such a presentation happens. Because I was not aware that we did, that this was happening in this way. So thank you very much.
Any other questions from trustees? Seeing none. Aidan, thank you very much for pulling this together, and Andrew, and then, Trustee Alexander.
Sorry, a little late to my question. I just wondered if the students had any informal comments they'd like to give to the audience that you have here today about whether you feel that you have sufficient support for the development and the implementation of these programs. Do you feel students are aware of the less than varsity type of opportunities available to them? Do you have any recommendations along those lines? Thank you.
As to the athletic angle, I think more students are aware of club sports than some of the varsity sports. Like rugby gets shockingly good turnouts to most of their home games, and I have yet to see like an intramural canceled due to lack of attendance. There's always people who are interested in that. The arts side, there's some areas where, at least in Farmington, where we do run into how to say this, occasionally reaching the student body from the arts isn't the easiest step to make. Sometimes that's interest. It's a lot of things going on, but occasionally it's not quite as easy as the other guys have it. Speaking as a guy who does theater, totally biased here.
Andrew or Ben, do you have any comments to answer?
Yeah, I did. So one of the unique challenges of USM is where we have 2 campuses down in Southern Maine. Traveling in between for intramurals or club sports kind of becomes inconvenient, but that's one of the unique challenges that specifically our Club Sports Council has been working on as well. I'm not sure if we have come up with a solution yet, but it's just one of those things that we kind of always have in the back of our mind.
Ben, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I have a few comments. I think that students participate a lot in the arts clubs and the club sports. I think those clubs do a really great job of reaching out and recruiting new students and encouraging freshmen and sophomores to join. I don't think that a lot of students know that they have access to a number of the arts facilities on campus. I believe we get 2 free tickets a year to or 2 free tickets a semester to the Collins Center. And I don't know that those are utilized as well. I don't know that students are aware that they get that with their tuition. I don't know that students know that they can go to the museum for free, and really anytime it's open. And I wish that the campus would promote that a little bit more to students, maybe in orientation or just in daily life. That shows are included with your tuition. You can go see shows at the Collins Center or concerts and whatnot. Yeah, but I think we're very well supported. Our funding for undergrad student gov here really helps us promote a lot of those clubs and keep them going and encourage them to be active.
I can see Provost Volin writing copious notes, so I think some action is going to be taken. Any other questions or discussion? If not, we really appreciate the time and effort you put into this. We know it's difficult when you've got some of your colleagues sunning themselves in Mexico and places like that, and you're here in the frozen tundra doing the work all on your own. So we do appreciate it. Thank you very much. The next agenda item is the faculty initiated discussion on ChatGPT, and I think Jeff St. John's going to kick this off.
Sure. I see a couple of our faculty representatives here today. Thank you, Trustee McMahon. I'll just say briefly by way of background, there have been multiple strands of work done, good work by faculty done going back to last spring, and in particular through the summer and fall across the system. Before handing it over to Joe and Ivan and whomever else would like to speak, I'll just say briefly, we have communities of practice at a couple of universities, faculty meeting to discuss ChatGPT, its use, potential use as a pedagogical tool, the benefits of it, the potential perils of it. There's been extensive work done by instructional designers and others who support faculty course development and program development at several universities, UMA, UMaine, USM, and elsewhere across the system, and also faculty working with their colleagues in their home departments, developing peer level or unit level syllabus statements, developing projects that incorporate ChatGPT, developing guidance for their students, again, at the level of individual courses, at the level of the program, in some cases beyond that. In addition, with the knowledge and support of the presidents and vice chancellors and chancellor, I worked with the Faculty Governance Council this last fall semester, and especially with the Faculty Senate and Assembly presidents. I visited each Senate or Assembly, including Maine Law, in person during the fall semester to discuss ChatGPT with faculty and to collect feedback from faculty. In addition, there are a couple of faculty around the system who've done their own reach out and collection of data, one of whom is sending me some feedback imminently from her campus. At the end of the fall semester, by agreement with the Faculty Governance Council, I developed a memo that I circulated the provost presidents, and final version went back to the Faculty Governance Council, really with 2 preliminary conclusions just about ChatGPT, not about artificial intelligence more broadly, which I know faculty have a range of thoughts on. But one of the reasons for the visit with Senates and Assemblies in the fall semester was to ask faculty for their guidance about the need or the lack of a need for a system-wide policy addressing ChatGPT. The overwhelming, in fact, the unanimous feedback from faculty was decisions about incorporating ChatGPT at the level of individual courses, programs, and the university level are best left to faculty to understand this technology as it continues to evolve more rapidly than any one-size-fits-all policy could begin to account for. We had total agreement among the faculty that I communicated with through the Senates and Assemblies and through the Faculty Governance Council in the fall semester about the desire to leave decisions about the use of ChatGPT to faculty at the level of individual courses and at the level of peers in schools and departments, with the proviso, of course, that the student conduct code and especially academic integrity policy remain forefront in all that we do with ChatGPT. The second conclusion that I reached, again, working with the Faculty Governance Council, was their request, the request from faculty across the system, that I work with existing resources, instructional design centers across our system, and the people who staff those centers, as well as interested faculty, to put together resources for faculty, guidance, external sites, external practices, best practices. Much of that work is already being done and has been done at the university level better than I could do it or will do it. But I'm happy to serve as an aggregator and to find a way to bring a link together that shares with faculty in one click all of the resources available both internally and externally across the system where ChatGPT is concerned. And lastly, before turning it over to the faculty representatives here, I'll just say that the two most common responses that I heard from faculty in the fall semester were, one, this is a tool and we need to understand how to use it and apply it as it continues to develop for the benefit of students and for the benefit of our teaching. And the other comment was, understandably, this is also something that needs to be managed very, very carefully and in some contexts limited by faculty because of concerns about academic integrity and also concerns about the assurance that students learn, in particular in composition courses and related courses that are writing intensive, that they're actually learning how to develop arguments and develop narrative and develop chains of logic and write well of their own accord with guidance from faculty, and that we not use ChatGPT in a way that isn't intended, in a way that runs contrary to our academic integrity standards. Those are really the key points that I can share. And with that, I'd be happy to see what Ivan and Joe and others would like to say about this.
So who wants to start? Ivan?
Yes, thank you. What I'm going to say is in full agreement with what Jeff St. John just reported. There have been multiple conversations among faculty, and Jeff talked about these that are in more formal settings, such as the faculty senates and assemblies. And at UMaine, yes, we have had these discussions. Faculty Governance Council, I also sit on the Faculty Governance Council, or I used to sit until last month as a representative of the University of Maine. And yes, we discussed this with Jeff, the memo which he reported about. I also want to mention faculty meetings, committee meetings within faculty units. These have been discussions. There have been discussions about generative AI. I've personally found the discussions and sessions organized by CITL, the Center for Instructional Technology and Learning, very helpful. We have a number of experts on AI who talked about AI before ChatGPT. These have been very, very helpful, and I've only attended a couple, but I know that there have been more. If there is, it's very difficult to talk about an agreement on the issue of AI among faculty, but if I could broadly describe it, it's a profound impact, and it's multi-directional. Some things are great. AI is great for certain things. It helps our work. It helps students. Be able to apply components of AI which might be expected in their future jobs and careers. And as Jeff mentioned, on the other end of the spectrum, there's issues of academic integrity and concerns about how AI is used and what is the appropriate use that we can specify in our classes. And there are ways to specify appropriate use. We can ask students to do certain things with AI and select an appropriate response or an appropriate writing or an appropriate product. It in a certain way, AI is a little bit like the calculators 50 years ago. Just because calculators came, we don't have to multiply 3-digit numbers by hand when calculators can do that much more easily than we can. But just relying that calculators can produce solutions, obviously, there's the person that operates them and needs to develop a solution. And in some way, it's a tool. It's a great tool. And if there is anything that I want to sound a caution about, is that yes, we are very careful, and we need to be careful in developing developing policies or guidelines. At the same time, we're sort of behind the curve already, especially with respect to students. I know that sometimes students use AI in a way that I was not anticipating, and it's very difficult for me to go and say, impossible actually to say, I know that you've used AI. Obviously we cannot say this because of due process and because we cannot be certain. But more work is needed, and from the faculty's perspective, faculty are certainly interested in engaging in more work and understanding how we can make this tool work better for the instructional process, for faculty and for students. Thank you.
Thanks, Ivan. Joe, do you want to weigh in?
Just briefly.
Go ahead.
Sorry, wrong Joe here. Okay. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead, please.
I think Ivan covered a lot of faculty concerns. You did a good job of that. I think that this is still something new at USM. There's a lot of discussion within units. There's certainly been discussion within the Senate about where we go with AI and things like ChatGPT. The common syllabus available at USM to develop courses has a place that reminds faculty to consider talking about AI and AI use in the classroom or establishing policies. But I still think that, as Ivan suggested, we're behind the curve on this a little bit. And so I've heard a number of mechanisms that faculty use to continue to engage students in critical thinking, in creative thinking, and to ensure that this is not, just a product of AI, and that is, changing the way that they're asking for materials to be delivered in class, maybe handwritten materials or a little bit more in-class work. It's been some of the ways that we're doing this. So I think that the next phase of this will be faculty going out and beginning to explore how AI can actually be used in the materials that they're delivering. So if you, for instance, are having a hard time writing if-then statements in an Excel program, then ChatGPT can actually help you with that and eliminates hours of angst for a student trying to develop those commands, those prompts. So there's definitely, we recognize the tools and the value of this tool in helping individuals get over that creative hump or the ability to begin work, or how it's going to be used in work in the future. But we're still learning how to incorporate that into our actual, process of teaching. So yeah, I haven't covered most of that, but that's the only additional stuff I would share with that.
Libin or Dimitri, do you have any comment?
I'd say the two faculty spoke before me, and Jeff covered most of the ground. I mean, obviously, the administrative level, we're thinking about what we need to do to teach students how to use it well. From the lawyer's perspective, there is a kind of ethics component as well. We've probably seen cases with hallucinations where AI makes up cases. So we're talking about kind of what we need to do to ensure that AI is taught in the classroom. But I think the general consensus is that faculty want to make determinations on a class-by-class level of how they want to incorporate AI into their classes. But, I think the point that Ivan mentioned about academic integrity is an important one, right? Identifying when students are using AI and figuring out kind of what tools are available to identify misuse or improper use of AI becomes really important. And so I think we're looking at kind of what tools are available to identify that. And there may be some system-wide decisions necessary to make sure that we have access to those tools.
Thanks. Libin, you have any comment?
I think most of my understanding based on our previous meeting, as well as talking with a few of the faculties and some of the students I advise, is pretty much summarized based on our previous talks, everyone. I think when I talk with personally with the students or faculty, it's mostly concerns, because there are different perspectives of how much understanding, even if someone is using AI, ChatGPT, they have their own understanding of how much of the ChatGPT they understand their uses, and it varies among different people. So I think it's very useful to have some of the resources available all at one place to increase like the level of understanding about how ChatGPT works, or any of the AI works for both faculty as well as students, so that it's not, so we are at least catching up, because it's going to be evolving all the time, and not all the courses and all the faculty are not equally involved in using ChatGPT. Particularly some of the courses that I teach, they're mostly mathematical, like calculations, and students, I can find like students trying to do some ChatGPT work, and it was like horribly wrong. Like I was like, well, you cannot do that in here, right? You have to do it mathematical. So it varies depending on different contexts, different courses, different disciplines. So at least we can have like some elevation, so that everyone is having a basic understanding of everyone's at the same page in related to understanding what ChatGPT is and how it works.
Joe Staples, do you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate what Libin said. That is, a lot of folks out there have, I'm talking about what I do for a job. They'll be like, well, what about ChatGPT? It sort of hangs out there as if it is some kind of a tool that can somehow teach on its own. And in AI in general, but we'll use ChatGPT as an example. I want to emphasize it's chat, right? It's a way for students to maybe engage in information off hours or what have you, that allow them to think about their topic. And then the other thing that I wanted to re-emphasize here is that it's often wrong, right? We're not at the point where, as many of my colleagues are finding, a paper or a product produced by ChatGPT isn't perfect, right? It's simply, I give it a 70%, right? And so I just want to get it out there to the public that it's not a perfect replacement for actually writing a paper yourself. It still is not accurate, and it can lead students down a wrong road in terms of how they're thinking about a topic or something like that. And so the other thing that faculty need to do is help them again think critically, as we've been alluding to here. And is what you're getting from AI accurate? And so again, that's all part of being behind the curve. We really need to think about this over the next year or so. That was it.
William Otto, did you have any comments? I see you just joined us. William, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear, and I don't have any comments at this point.
Okay, thank you. Any other faculty rep have any comments before we open it up for the trustees? Questions from the trustees? Yes, Barbara.
I had two issues that I thought I'd like to hear the faculty respond to. And one is, while I completely understand why faculty needs the authority to decide how to use it in their teaching of this tool, I'm concerned about the academic integrity part of it in terms of how students are using it. Isn't it possible to require students to declare on all their written or handed in work how much and how they used ChatGPT in the preparation of their document. I mean, that's just a disclosure issue that seems appropriate, that could be required. But the next issue that I'd like to have discussion about is, it's one thing to talk about what classroom teaches about it or incorporates it. How about research integrity, which is a whole different ballgame, it seems to me, that on which there are going to be no doubt some specific rules of the road at some point about that issue. In terms of federally funded and ethical issues, and whether our university graduate and research programs have been thinking about that, would be another area of discussion. Thank you very much.
Who would like to take that? But Jeff, do you have any comments to start off with?
I'll respond briefly to the second item, Trustee Alexander, by assuring you that President and Vice Chancellor Farini-Mundy has taken a very keen interest in that exact subject, and I'm confident you'll be hearing from her in some capacity, along with the other presidents and research leaders across the system, about that in the coming months.
Just to add there that Joan is currently testifying to the legislature, and that's why she's not present. She hopes to join us later. Dimitri, do you want to answer that question?
Just a small part to Trustee Alexander, your first part of the question. ChatGPT is obviously one very well-known AI system, but there's so many of them out there. And so while we can think about kind of individual ones, there's, for example, Westlaw and Lexis are the two most prominent ones lawyers use. They have their own AI system that they've developed, which in some ways is more powerful and more accurate. And so there's really no way to ban, and I don't think we want to ban students from using those. And we don't necessarily even want to tell them to describe that they use it. Now, of course, we can't say, here's sign off that you used it or didn't use it. But some faculty might say, it's a good thing that you use it. And I don't really care all that much that you use it. We want to encourage it. We want to teach you to use it. So I think that's why kind of deferring on the faculty level might make sense, because some systems are kind of starting to be baked in to the research tools that we're teaching our students to use all the time.
Yes, no, I totally understand. This is not to say that using it is wrong. It's a disclosure issue so that you, the faculty, can evaluate what the student has done on their own versus and including ChatGPT, which may be an appropriate tool for the assignment in question. Yeah.
Ivan.
Thank you. I was thinking about along very similar lines to what you, Trustee Alexander, talked about. I've already seen journals, research journals, where disclosure is expected. In other words, it's okay to use ChatGPT, but you have to describe how you used it. And I was thinking along the same lines as you suggested. Perhaps we could ask students to disclose whether and how they've used it. What I have not thought sufficiently about is the unintended consequences. In other words, yes, I'm asking students to use ChatGPT or whatever other tool is out there. So what? What is appropriate use? How do I evaluate the appropriate use? Is it just editing, which would be great if they've used it like 3-4 variations and they've selected an answer? I'm not saying we shouldn't go this way, but we should be thinking, I think, a little bit more about what the appropriate use is and how we can guide this.
Thank you. Other questions from trustees? Any of the provosts want to weigh in? Good. Don.
Thank you, Trustee McMahon. This is, I'm getting more on the research front. This has been a huge topic this whole last year at conferences. I helped organize a session at the summer APLU conference that provosts attend, and then pretty much it dominated the APLU in their November annual conference in Seattle. And it's one thing that universities are doing, or states are doing. The state of New York is investing $75 million into new positions, all related to AI. Stanford is doing the same, and it's throughout the U.S. And so there's a real concentration on hiring faculty and keeping faculty and retaining faculty that are in this area. And so I think this is something that is going to be, University of Florida put out essentially a whole document on how to become an AI university. So I think we're gonna, this is just the beginning. When it comes to the teaching side, the community of practice that Jeff had mentioned earlier is giving a lot of techniques for faculty that either want to use it or they want to avoid it, et cetera. And I think we're going to keep seeing this evolve as we move forward. I just wanted to add the kind of the big investment that's happening across the U.S. on this. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Jeff, do you want to close this session out? Any final comments?
My only thought was that knowing that Provost Zakis is a computer scientist by training, I thought he'd be jumping right on top of this one. If I leave him out without giving him a shot here, I'll hear about it later, Trustee McMahon. So I'm just going to look at Joe one last time.
Thank you.
I apologize for saying Joe, not realizing we had two Joes on the screen.
Well, three, I guess. But anyway, thank you for giving me just a little time here. I will say that, everything what folks have said really has been spot on. Fast changing field. I think the calculator, Ivan, kind of stole my thunder on that. But just to realize the impacts, right? The internet, Google, Wikipedia, all these things are forces on higher ed, and yet all those forces have not crumbled higher ed. It have been tools that we have absorbed and changed, and we will have to change. And that's the beautiful thing about technology and that sort of thing. I will say that at least here at UMA, we are leveraging faculty peers, right? The folks in our data science program and computers are giving, faculty the opportunities to investigate and query and try to probe and see how the impact is for us. And just take it just to what Provost Volin said, and I'll close here, is that academics is one piece, but we could revolutionize financial aid. We could revolutionize tutoring. We could revolutionize so many pieces of the university institution once we get a better handle around this. And we also keep our eye on the federal government, who's trying to regulate this really nefarious thing, I guess, or thing that's going to be hard to get our hands around anyway. But I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Jeff, any last comments?
I think you've heard from the people who are dealing with this directly, Trustee McMahon, and I'll just close by seconding something that Dimitri said about the fact that ChatGPT is far from the only agent on the stage right now. There are many other generative AI products, vendors, services, platforms out there that we're also more broadly contending with and trying to figure out how to use appropriately and how to avoid using inappropriately.
Can I ask a question? How are we, in fact, helping the community college system and K through 12 education to understand the use of AI? Is there a role there for the university system because of our deep expertise to help others understand it?
I think we can and will, Trustee McMahon. I mean, the communities of practice that Provost Volin mentioned, they're scattered across the system, and some of them have been now longstanding and intense. The faculty have really dug in on this subject. My hope and goal for the spring semester in gathering those resources that I mentioned at the outset is to share them through Janet Sorter with her colleagues at MCCS if they would like to have access to them. And certainly there's plenty of room for all of us to educate each other on this topic, and we look forward to helping do that.
Great, thank you. So the next agenda item is with Jeff, alignment of the ASA work plan with the strategic plan.
Thank you. This one is brief and positive. At least I hope, I know it's brief and I hope it's positive. I'll say it that way. So at our last meeting, I had good encouragement from Trustee Alexander and other trustees to more consciously align the academic year work plan for this committee with the goals of our new system-wide strategic plan. So with significant credit to Jamie Ballinger in my office, and some feedback from me on a redraft that Jamie led, we've put together an updated version of the academic and student affairs work plan that we'll be discussing with the trustees a little bit later. It introduces some potential new areas of reporting for this committee. There will need to be a discussion with the trustees about what they would like to add and what potentially we might consolidate or move off of our slate, because as Trustee McMahon has noted before, and he's right, we can't have too many reports at each meeting because we'll run out of time for other things that this committee would like to achieve. In addition to a few new reports, the work plan also introduces a couple of new topical areas. So there are things that we are now accounting for and engaging with as a system, and they're not secret at all. One of them is competency-based education, and the other is direct admissions. How will we report to this committee about the work being done in those areas in an appropriate way? Can those reports be grafted into existing reports? Should they be standalone reports? So really, this is just an update on our effort in my office to meet the guidance of the trustees in an effective way and develop a work plan going forward that meets the needs the trustees have identified and that meets the needs of the work that we do.
Thank you. Question? Yes, Bob.
I was just, do you have a draft for us to review? I mean, how do you want to present changes to us? I don't think it's attached to this agenda.
It should be in your diligent materials, Trustee Alexander, for discussion in today's executive session.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can confirm it is in diligence. Anything else? Any other questions on this topic? If not, the next item is the update on the Maine College of Engineering and Computer Science. I believe President Edmondson is going to lead that.
I am. Thank you very much, Trustee McMahon. As you noted earlier, President Freeney Mundy is giving testimony to the legislature this morning, and she will join us just as soon as she can. But I'll get things started, and I believe Grace has a presentation, some slides that she'll show. But I do want to start by saying when I first became president in the summer of 2022, what was then called MESIS was one of the most important priorities as I talked with President Freeney Mundy and with the Chancellor about the Harold Alfond Foundation, the vision for engineering in the state. And we spent considerable time discussing the priorities, where we were with the Memorandum of Understanding. I worked closely with Department Chair Carlos Luke to understand his perspectives and concerns, and with our Faculty Senate and the Engineering Department here at the University of Southern Maine. There was great interest in, as you might imagine, in this initiative, and I couldn't be more pleased with where we are at this moment with this work. I really want to give credit to Dean Giovanni. She has done an amazing job leading this effort. She's worked very collaboratively with the department chair, Carlos Luke, and with Dean Jeremy Qualls here at the University of Southern Maine. And I only hear good things as I check in with them about how things are going. And so today my role is to just give an overview of the goals of the Maine College of Engineering and Computing, and then a bit of a timeline, and then I'll hand it over to the Dean for her input as well. And so in terms of an overview, really the MCEC is intended to answer the need for thousands of new engineering and computing graduates in Maine through this new initiative that's intended to expand educational opportunities in collaboration with programs across the University of Maine system. It's intended to bring together faculty from engineering and the School of Computing and Information Science at UMaine and the Department of Engineering at USM, and it will eventually extend to computing disciplines across the system, something that we think is going to be incredibly powerful and transformative. There's currently $25 million for programming. MCEC provides new educational opportunities in emerging fields. There's $50 million for facilities that will improve R&D for Maine-based industry. This will enhance infrastructure for research and learning. It includes new state-of-the-art green engineering and materials laboratory, what we refer to now as GEM. There's a $75 million match required, but with state funding from MJRP, what I hear people call MEJRP, I'm still getting used to the acronyms, federal funding for GEM, and grant funding such as NSF Career Awards directly related to improving engineering education and expanding student opportunities, we have currently leveraged about $121 million. All the campuses across the system are represented in the UMS Council, and they collaborate to shape the future of MCEC. So in terms of a timeline, we welcomed our new dean in January and officially launched MCEC on April 1st, 2023. There are new interdisciplinary programs in emerging areas such as renewable energy, biofuels, robotics, advanced materials, biomedical innovations, industrial engineering, and AI, and these will attract new students and faculty and create a robust pipeline for Maine industry. MCEC will also help to expand R&D for Maine-based industry through GEM and link teaching and learning opportunities for students to prepare for careers that matter for Maine, such as forest, bioproducts, aquaculture, and clean energy. Thousands of new engineering jobs are needed to fill new jobs and replace members of Maine's existing workforce. From 2022, data show that there are 1,510 new jobs, 1,840 retirements approximately, and people leaving the profession. And we have about 1,600 graduates. So that our estimates come in that there's about a 1,750 shortfall in terms of the jobs, the gap between the labor force and the jobs that are available. Our enrollment, as of our census data for engineering and computation, show that the unduplicated engineering headcount currently is at 1,802 undergraduates, 262 graduates for a total of just over 2,000 students. The unduplicated headcount in computer science is that there are 412 undergrads, 157 grads for a total of about 569 students. USM's engineering, as of 9/24, we had an unduplicated headcount of 172 undergraduate, and then there's a total of about 2,800 students before computing headcounts at UMA, USM, UMF, UMPI, and Fort Kent. So out of the census date, we've confirmed that enrollment is up slightly in engineering from 2022, and it's also up in engineering and computing at the University of Maine, or at Orono. USM's engineering is up from 2022 from 163 students to 172. So the timeline for MCEC is that October 2020, there was a historic $240 million award from the Harold Alfond Foundation, revitalizing the University of Maine system, UMS Transforms, and it was announced as a 12-year term. From January of 21 to June of 22, system-wide committees worked with over 100 participants. In May of 2022, the first MOU setting out the framework for engineering between UMaine and USM was proposed and approved to move forward to the Board of Trustees by this committee, the ASA committee, on May 2nd of 2022. But then in May of 2022, with my arrival as the new president of the University of Southern Maine in June, a decision was made to remove the MOU approval from the board agenda. In August of 2022, Dean Dana Humphrey retired. Mohammed Musavi was appointed as interim dean. January of 23, the inaugural dean of MCEC was appointed, Dr. Giovanna Giovanni. And then in February 2023, a revised MOU was approved by ASA to move forward to the full Board of Trustees. March of 23, the board approved the establishment of MCEC. In May of 2023, USM and UMaine had approved a 4+1 and 4+2 program in electrical engineering. In July of 23, the MOU between MCEC and the School of Computing and Information Science at UMaine brings SCIS administratively within MCEC. In September of 23, Industrial Engineering Program was launched at USM, And in October of 2023, a Governance Development UMS Council and External Advisory Board was established. And so with all of that in place, I think I will turn it over to our dean to give more details.
Thank you very much, President Edmondson, and thank you all for inviting me here. I am very excited to give you some updates of the many things that have been happening. So 8 days from now, it will be my first year anniversary here in Maine, and I am really privileged and honored to be part of this amazing initiative. So some of the things that we have been hearing so far are really very relevant to the mission of this college. So we heard about, for example, the role of AI in education, but that is also very pervasive in how the industry landscape is changing. And so how can we, for example, help industry across the board, really, and in particular also for the industries that are particularly relevant to Maine? How can we make them competitive? How can we help them adopt some of the more innovative technologies and take full advantage of innovation while understanding the limitations and the applicability and how trustworthy they are and where? So this is just to connect with what we heard. Here in this slide, you see then the vision and the goals from this for this college that has, from the academic perspective, the vision and the thrive to really combine the natural synergies of our engineering and computing disciplines. But that is really truly not limited to our academic programs within the universities. It really expands to how do we inspire young mind in K-12 education to pursue and engage with careers that involve engineering and computing? And how can we connect with industry so that, as said earlier, we really take full responsibility of our role as educators and connectors between innovations and the impact in the economy? And also, how can we lower the barriers to actually access education, also establishing connections with, for example, community colleges and technical high schools? So these are all part of the multifaceted vision of the college. I have few slides here that give you some updates of what we have been doing in this regard, and I would be happy at any time to give more updates on particular aspects that may be deemed of interest. So President Edmondson mentioned earlier how we are working across the system. I am meeting on a regular basis every other week with Carlos Lack and Jeremy Quoth at the University of Southern Maine to discuss what our priorities are, how we can coordinate on the various initiatives. For example, a major success, as mentioned earlier, is the establishment of a 4+1, 4+2 program in electrical engineering between the Department of Southern Maine and the University of Maine at Orono. But many other things are really discussed not only between Orono and USM, but across the system. For example, the Maine Engineering Pathway Program is a program that is already in existence and that allows students to begin their studies in engineering and then continuing them either at the University of Southern Maine or the University of Maine at Orono. And so last summer, across the system, we analyzed this program to see what are the barriers, what can we do to revitalize it. And this is just an example of items that we discuss at the system level. So here you see a slide that shows that we have established a UMS Council for MCEC that has representatives across the system. And we are also assembling 2 other boards, the External Advisory Board and the Student Advisory Board, so that the programs and the initiatives that we discuss, again, as I said, are not limited to the academic perspective, but also bring in the needs and the perspectives of industry as well as the students. The president has earlier illustrated some of the numbers kind of across the board, and I would like to point to some of the programs that have been really thriving. And I am really, as I said earlier, privileged and honored to lead this college. There are so many high quality programs that are leading not only our system, but really across the nation. For example, the Survey Engineering Technology program, you see here the numbers in the total enrollment, how they have grown since 2020. And actually, this program has been ranked among the top 2 in the nation in the recent years, constantly. And so this shows how if we really go after programs that are in demand, high need, and most importantly, of high quality, they can really drive up our enrollment and position ourselves as leaders in Maine as well as in the nation. Also, the data science and engineering program is really something that I would like to share with the board because not only it has been growing, as you can see here, but is an example of a program where actually courses from the University of Maine at Orono, USM, and University of Maine at Augusta are combined in one degree. So students enrolled in this degree can take courses at different campuses. So many of the things that we have been saying, so synergies between engineering and computing disciplines, working together across the system, these things are already happening and will continue to happen as we move forward in a more consistent and coordinated way so that we can better address the needs of our students and our economy. So I just mentioned some of the other initiatives related to programs. Some of them are more advanced, some are in discussion, but it is just to share with the board that there is a lot of excitement. So I start with the last one that I already mentioned, so the Maine Engineering Pathway Program. So this, as I said, is an existing program that we have been discussing across the system. For example, some needs that have been identified there to make it stronger and more viable is, for example, the need of more math classes and physics classes to be offered also in various semesters, possibly in a hybrid fashion. So this is an example of how coming together across the system can really help us meet the needs. Earlier we heard from the students the excitement around sports. Actually, there is a lot of engineering and computing there too. And for example, right now we have several capstones projects across different disciplines that are actually coming from a collaboration between programs in our college and athletics. For example, we were discussing about sensors to monitor the quality or the status of the ice in the hockey field. Or for example, a vest that can help people who are going in expeditions, for example, in high altitudes, and how to monitor vital signs. So these interests that are genuine for the students and are also very needed to push various kinds, of industries and matters that are relevant. For example, how to monitor climate change, or how to make, for example, sports safe and attractive to everyone. So these are areas that actually are very promising on where to develop, for example, new programs. Also, you see at the top the industrial engineering program. That is a new program that has been launched at USM in fall 2023, as well as other ongoing development programs, like, for example, a certificate in offshore wind energy. This slide I am really very excited on too, because since I came, I had the opportunity to work both in terms of academic programs developments as well as research development opportunities around thematics that are really of shared interest across the system and across the state. For example, the need for advanced manufacturing, or how can we make an environment where human and machines interact in a way that is synergistic and positive and constructive. And how can we, for example, enable AI-aided, for example, manufacturing based on materials, for example, coming from forestry and so bio-based and related to our state in a way that is safe. So how can we bring cybersecurity in and so on? So in this slide, really, you see a list of different disciplines and different areas where actually we have come together across the system to try to find way to address it. So this actually led to a pre-proposal submitted to the NSF last summer, which then has continued to develop in a series of workshops that we are holding across the system, where new faculty are getting to know each other and getting to know the different research and academic interests. And many things are coming out of this. I would be very happy to expand further on it. And this actually is my last slide. The president earlier mentioned the importance also of spaces to actually enable the vision. So here you see 3 examples. So the Furlan Engineering Education and Design Center was opened last year, and here in the Orono campus, and is really showcasing how engineering and computing education is welcoming, is collaborative, is artsy, actually relating also to something that was said earlier. There are many people hanging out, in the building because it is a nice place to be. And actually it fosters natural interactions, both across students as well as students and faculty. The Dubiak Center, in Portland, that is actually meant to bring together digital sciences with computer sciences and innovation. And then finally, the Green Engineering and Materials building, the GEM building, that is planned to be built here in the Orono campus, but is really meant to enable a convergence of engineering, computing disciplines around bio-based materials and advanced manufacturing. And just to give you an example, in one of our latest UMS Council meetings, we were discussing how the educational spaces that will be in the building, so for example, active learning classrooms and interactive teaching labs, how can we make such spaces available across the system? So even though they are built here in Orono, how can they be accessed by students, for example, in Augusta or in Southern Maine or in Presque Isle? So that not only, again, we connect in terms of what we study, but also how we do it and how can we share resources across the system so that our students can really be exposed to the latest technologies and contribute to the advancement of the state. This was my last slide, and I thank you for the opportunity to give you these updates.
Thank you. Could somebody take the slide down, please? Thank you. Questions from the trustees? Lisa.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just extend my congratulations to all of you. This has been a long time coming. I'm trying to remember back when we first started discussing this. I think it was in excess of 2 years ago. Time goes by quickly, but I am most appreciative of the fact that you have all come together with this plan that really reflects so many goals of the university system. So well done and congratulations.
Hear, hear.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? I'm just going between screens to make sure I don't miss anybody. But thank you very much to the presenters. A very exhaustive discussion. Thank you. The next item is new academic program for UMA, the BA in Music Technology. And it says Jeff to kick it off.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. I'll turn it over to Provost Zakis in just a moment. Just 2 quick comments about this proposal. First, this reflects the characteristic thoroughness of the work that Provost Zakis and President Cushman bring forward to this committee. Joe's and company have walked through this with the provosts in considerable detail over a period of time. And in fact, this proposal is supported and buttressed by letters of support from the director of the School of Computing. I just lost the name. SCIS, School of Computing and Information Science at UMaine, Penny Reingans, and also Stephen Payne, who leads music faculty at Farmington, along with his colleagues in the Division of Arts and Humanities, who unanimously are in support of this music technology program at UMA. The second piece is to preemptively respond in a constructive way to one question we'll get asked: why isn't this being brought forward as a multi-university program? The answer is really simple. The physical infrastructure and physical resources needed to run this program uniquely exist at Augusta. No other university has the same combination of space and equipment needed to fully partner in the delivery of this program. Having said that, however, you'll hear from Joe how he has brought together in a fully collaborative way academic alignments, potential for delivery of courses by multiple universities in this program, and in doing so, will meet a direct, clear need for occupational therapists and physical therapists with music technology education and training, and also sound engineering, acoustic engineering leaders in the workforce here in Maine. And with that, I'm happy to hand it over to Provost Sakis.
Thank you very much, and good morning again, folks. So just as a background, this is a BA in music technology. UMA has a bachelor's in music, in contemporary and popular music, which is a combination of online and or low residency. It's a pretty healthy program. We have over 68 students in our music program. The numbers started going up once we moved online. And so a music technology program, just like what Vice Chancellor St. John said, requires a recording studio, and we have one of those on our campus. It's got a control room, live room, 2 sound booths, tech room, sonic art studio, and a Mac lab. I'd work a partridge in a pear tree if it worked, but it's a little past season on that. But it's a key major infrastructure component that you need for this program. During COVID, we were investing with HERF dollars and everything to make sure that we could support with quality our distance programs during that time. And what we saw as the technology in music was just, kind of improved so significantly that the faculty got very excited about it. And as our faculty became more proficient, we created concentrations in this as well. And so this is an opportunity to create a new degree that combines the technical with musicianship of our existing music program. And so it's not necessarily a standalone major, it is a degree major, but the courses that we will be doing are in common, they have a common trunk, if you will, with our contemporary and popular music program. We did reach out, in good spirit to collaborate, and as Vice Chancellor St. John mentioned, we do have supporting letters. We see opportunities with University of Maine's new media program, that those online classes that our students can take advantage of. Farmington has courses as well that we don't plan on duplicating. We'll leverage those that are available to our students as well. And we got a strong support for this. So this, as I kind of get to the big finish here, this program will give graduates the skills required to both teach music as well as the skills to run and teach about the sound equipment. We think there's opportunity out there. This would, already the online music program that we have right now is one of a handful only in the nation. And so this we see as will give us more opportunity there in terms of the online market. Many of our students in our contemporary and popular music program are international or veterans. And so when they're deployed or whatever, they can still kind of take advantage of these courses. The job market growth, we did look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics for job growth. We looked at, light casts and things like that. Audio technicians, sound engineers, music editors, all are projected to be a positive growth areas for us. And just just finally is that we're the next step, if we can get this approved, is then to look for external accreditation, the same accreditation that is available at the University of Maine and University of Southern Maine in terms of the National Association of Schools and Music. We've been holding off on that for the specific reason that you need a performing arts, an area for performing arts, which we have a modest auditorium. But because it's online, we can now leverage the recording studio now, and now we can move forward to kind of make that statement of quality for this program. And so I'm happy to take questions from folks, and thank you so much.
Questions for Joe?
Could I add to
Certainly.
what Joe, just very briefly? I want to highlight three aspects to this proposal. First of all, it builds on our UMA strengths. We do workforce development really well, but with a liberal arts bachelor's degree foundation, and this kind of covers some of our strengths here. It will be careers and music focused occupational therapy. We also do a lot with distance modalities, so this builds on that strength as well. And we cater to many different populations, including veterans and international students, as Joe mentioned. So that's important to notice too. Another strength, we do partner across the system, and of course you've heard that Farmington and UMaine will be partners in this. And finally, it does align strategically with the system strategic plan, namely action item 1, develop innovative programs under commitment 2, effective academic portfolio actions, developing innovative programs and curricular response to changing economic and workforce needs, data-driven projections of growth areas, and technological innovation. And those are all important things to note with this proposal. Thank you.
Questions? Ms. Bowden.
Are any of these programs or related issues to do with more technical training at community colleges, or are those facilities simply not available at the community college level?
Yeah, it's a good question. The only program that we know that would probably have any type of either competition would be the Husson, and has a program. Theirs is more on just the sound engineering. It's not really on the musicianship component of it either. So we feel there's a uniqueness in the state. And when there's an opportunity, when the community colleges move into this area, it's not. I don't think they're really arts heavy on that, but if they do, we'll be there waiting to partner.
It just sounded like there might be a real nice marketing niche that could be fulfilled with this program to link it to enrollment issues too.
Yeah, the pipeline, the building, I think we're also seeing early college having opportunities as well. So, thank you.
Other question? Chair Riley.
Thank you. I had to step up for a minute, so I apologize if you've already addressed this, but I assume there's no additional cost to adding this degree.
There's no additional cost. There's software that is needed, but we're already using the software already, and so there's no. I mean, if the enrollment grows the way we think it is, then we'll probably need to have conversations about instruction. But right now, the instruction is being covered with our full-time faculty and our adjuncts, and so we feel pretty good about the cost containment already. Thank you.
In my recollection, Joe, the software cost was about $5,000. It was not a big number.
No, I mean, once we get the kind of the system license, I mean, student licensing for the stuff is reasonable in this area.
Other questions? Seeing none, I will read the text of the proposed resolution that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the consent agenda of the January 28, 29, 2024 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Arts in Music Technology at the University of Maine at Augusta. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Lisa. Can I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Barbara. Kayla, could you call the roll, please?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
Trustee Riley,
Yes.
Trustee Eames,
Yes.
Trustee Alexander,
Yes.
and Trustee Martin.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is the UMFK BS in Rural Public Safety Administration name change to BS in Criminal Justice. Jeff St. John.
Thank you, Chair. This is an informational item for the trustees. President Hedin and the chief academic officers and I have been having conversations for over a year about the Rural Public Safety Administration program at Fort Kent. When that program was established, there was a decision made to give it that name instead of the name that from the outset fit it better and enjoys much greater and wider brand recognition and market recognition among potential students, which is criminal justice. The very helpful thing about the interest in the name change for the Fort Kent program is that changing the name to criminal justice involves no other changes. The academic focus of the program is not changing. The composition of the program is not changing. There's no change in the level of delivery of degree within the program. And there is no new or different or additional competition introduced with a similar program focusing on different students, also named criminal justice in Presque Isle. This is also part of a broader set of conversations where I will once again praise President Hedin, President Rice, and Provost Vollen for an exhausting amount of work over the last several months and really almost a year, seeking to develop further ties between criminal justice programming, Fort Kent and UMPI, and then also ties between criminal justice programming at UMPI with UMaine as UMaine continues to develop its own proposal for a criminal justice program that would principally attract out-of-state students and new students to criminal justice at our flagship university. So this is part of an ongoing and long and important set of discussions, but as a good and valuable step in the right direction, the name change from Rural Public Safety Administration to Criminal Justice is an excellent starting point. Consistent with Board Policy 309, which I'll read very quickly to you, we've proceeded as follows. Renaming of an academic unit where there is neither a substantive change in activity and mission, nor a change in organizational level, meaning going from a department to a college or a school to a college, which is not happening here. Does not require approval by the Board of Trustees, but the Chancellor shall be informed of any change in the name of a unit. So I started after these conversations with President Hedin, with all the provosts, with President Rice, with Provost Vollen and others. I started with the Chancellor. Chancellor was supportive, took it back to the provost, then went to the presidents. There is unanimous support. There has been unanimous support for this name change across the leadership. Consistent with the policy, consistent with having had the conversation with the Chancellor, we voice voted support for this at the CAOC, the Chief Academic Officers Council meeting at the end of November. I formalized the change in a memo to President Hedin in early December, and then leaving several weeks for our institutional research staff to update the academic program inventory and other online sites here in the system, we made the name change effective January 1, 2024. The last thing that I need to do, and I'll take advantage of the fact that she's here right now, is to encourage President Hedin to check into existing articulation agreements. This is Chair McMahon's very smart catch, not mine, Deb, so I need to credit him. In case there are articulation agreements with the community colleges or others that use the old name, please and thank you for having your staff update them to reflect the new name. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that trustees may have.
Questions or comments? Lisa.
Thank you. As someone who works in law enforcement, naming something Rural Public Safety Administration just doesn't make any sense to begin with for me. So I really want to applaud you on this. As you may know, people going into into public safety and law enforcement is down. So I'm hoping this will be a great recruitment tool for you that will then lead to a much needed career in public safety, law enforcement. So this could be impactful. I hope so. And I appreciate you doing this and making it so much clearer.
Trustee Alexander.
No issue with the name change as such, but I was intrigued with your description of potential future activities in this entire area. And it occurred to me to ask, is the BS in criminal justice as rigorous or as comprehensive or similar to the academic program at USM, for example, which is a longstanding degree in that area? Is there some way in which all of these degrees with the same name have the same level of quality control attached to them? Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Alexander. The quality control is absolute across the system. So we have the same expectations for quality, irrespective of the particular focus of a program or the particular students that it attracts. And I should have said, and I neglected to say this, but part of this discussion with President Hedin involved an early and repeated polling of the provosts by me. Does anyone else who has a program with a similar name have any interest in changing the name of the program or have any concerns about this potential program name change? Just as one example, University of Maine at Augusta had the Justice Studies program. Provost Zakis took that query to his faculty some time ago. They chose to retain the name of their program. So academic quality is preserved regardless of what the specific focus is, but also we were careful in relation to that to make sure that name recognition, which is very important to faculty and very important to the universities, was honored in every case. And I think we have threaded the needle in a way that works for everyone in this instance. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, this is an informational item, no action required by the committee. So the next item, Jeff, annual awarding of academic degrees.
Consistent with board, thank you, Chair McMahon, consistent with board policy 303 and with academic practice letter X-B, this committee annually affirms and then moves forward to the full board the fact that it is our trustees who grant degrees to students who have met degree requirements set by our faculty. Those students are identified in consultation with the faculty and with their presidents at their respective universities and brought forward to be confirmed in their degrees by the Board of Trustees. Again, this is an annual affirmation of the fact that it is the board that grants degrees to our students.
Any questions to Jeff? Seeing none, I will read the text of the proposed resolution. That the Academic and Student Affairs Committee approves the following resolution to be forwarded to the consent agenda for Board of Trustees approval at the January 28, 29, 2024 board meeting. That the Board of Trustees of the University of Maine System authorize the awarding of degrees during commencement ceremonies for the 2023-2024 academic year to those students fully recommended by the appropriate faculties and the presidents of the respective institutions of the University of Maine System. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Lisa. Can I have a second? Is that Trish? Seconded by Chair Riley. Kayla, could you take the roll call vote, please?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
Trustee Riley,
Yes.
Trustee Eames,
Yes.
Trustee Alexander,
Yes.
and Trustee Martin.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is executive session. And could I have a motion for the Board of Trustees meeting to go into the executive session under the provisions of 1 MRSA section 4056A to discuss the evaluation of personnel and the consideration and discussion of appointments, evaluations, employment, and duties.
So
Joe?
moved.
Moved by Lisa. Can I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kelly. And just before we take the vote, I want to thank everybody who is not going into executive session for your participation on the committee meeting today. The presentations were outstanding, and I think our discussion was very fruitful as well. Thank you. And Kayla, could you take the vote, please?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Eames,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
and trustee Martin.
Yes.
The motion carries. And bear with me as I move you into executive. Those who are not initially going into executive will wait in the waiting room, so just bear with me.